Now, if we go beyond this mapping, this sort of assessment tool that helps, kind of see what's going on, we start to get into the tools that actually can help regulate that, help, optimize the brain. One of those is neurofeedback. Can you go into your application of neurofeedback on clients to optimize the brain?
Absolutely. So neurofeedback, I think of as a tool where it's basically holding a mirror up to the brain and showing it how it's doing. So first, we got to just kind of establish that the brain is operating both on a chemical as well as electrical level. So everyone talks more about the neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, so on and so forth. But in terms of measuring what's actually going on in the brain, it's a lot easier and less invasive to measure the electrical activity, which, is what we're doing with the brain map. But neurofeedback is a way to actually provide people feedback and encourage the brain to change in certain ways. So for instance, if someone is struggling with their focus, if they have ADHD, oftentimes we'll see a clinical biomarker of ADHD called the theta to beta ratio. Basically, when someone has 3 times the amount of theta, which is a slower, more drowsy and inattentive brainwave, compared to the ratio of beta waves, where beta is more focus and alertness. So when someone has way more theta compared to those beta waves, that is clinical biomarker of ADHD, according to the FDA. So say we see that in someone's frontal lobes, it's a pretty common finding. Then we can actually help teach their brain to reduce the levels of those drowsy and underactive theta waves and actually improve their production of faster beta brain waves that are going to improve their focus. So how does that actually work? Someone is basically playing a video game, or they could be watching Netflix or some other media, and they're basically getting auditory and visual feedback on when their brain is in the desired healthy state, in which the screen will turn clear, the audio will get louder, they're playing a video game, the character will run faster. And then when they get out of that healthy state, when their brain deviates from that, we'll see the screen get dark, the audio gets quiet. So this is a way to provide the brain real-time feedback on how it's doing within 100 milliseconds. So quicker than our conscious mind can even process information. So I think about it really on a very deep level, kind of rewiring the brain, the biological basis of how the brain is functioning. And as we kind of started talking about how dysregulated brainwaves can produce all of these symptoms. So neurofeedback is a tool that can actually help regulate and improve our brainwave activity, which then, is what's driving all of these different aspects of our cognition. So when people talk about, what are the benefits of neurofeedback? It can really vary quite a lot depending on the specific protocol in terms of what area of the brain we're working. Are we trying to help the brain get into a more calm, slowed down state? Are we trying to help it speed up, get into a faster, more alert state? There's really a lot of different applications of neurofeedback. It started mostly with kids with ADHD in the 1970s, but has since, the applications have moved from, things like anxiety, depression, epilepsy, traumatic brain injuries, and also peak performance. So a lot of athletes are starting to utilize or have been utilizing neurofeedback, maybe haven't talked about it, maybe keeping it as kind of a performance secret, but there's a lot of pro athletes I know that are utilizing neurofeedback. The Real Madrid and AC Milan, the soccer teams, they actually have neurofeedback centers. So there's so many different applications. It's not just, something that treats a specific condition. It's really helping the brain understand how it's doing and enable the brain to perform and rewire itself for healthier functioning. And this is something that it doesn't take place all in one session, which I think is much to the dismay of people who are used to, say, popping a pill of Adderall and feeling super focused and motivated and stimulated. But what neurofeedback is really doing is, improving both the cognitive performance, but also creating positive long-term changes in brain functionality, which is unlike, a stimulant medication like Adderall. You might get short-term improvements, but long-term detriment to your brain health. So I think that classification of a nootropic, I like when people talk about that a nootropic, to meet the classification, it must enhance short-term brain performance, but also be neuroprotective. So I like to think of that, similar with neurofeedback, where, it's improving the brain's function, but also really not doing it at the expense of our long-term brain health.
Yeah, I always find it so surprising when doctors and just the medical community as a whole just go directly to things like Ritalin and Adderall for children. When you have tools like this, they're absolutely impactful, do not have the side effects, are looking at really long-term changes to the brain and helping it adapt properly and not utilizing something of a drug that is a powerful stimulant. I mean, it's like, one step off of crystal meth, basically, you're talking about with these methamphetamines, which they are, that we're giving to children. And it's just a wild kind of thing when we have these tools